Welcome to the most incredible marketing show ever. The show where each week a panel of respected marketing strategists, all trained and certified by the legendary Dan Kennedy, share their wisdom, experience, strategies, and insights on how to use Dan Kennedy's philosophy on business and marketing in any type of business, and that you can apply to your business immediately. Here's your host, Craig Valine.
Today, our topic is setting compelling business goals for the year. And so this is an important topic for all entrepreneurs. So let's get right to it. Steve Sipress, do you set goals? And if so, why are they important to you?
Yes, goals are very important. And the key is people tell you to set realistic goals, but with what we know about advertising and marketing and sales, what's realistic to what we can make happen for our clients, for business owners, much different than what they think. So often I have to have a session when I'm onboarding a brand new client. I say, hey, what are your goals? What would you like things to look like a year from now? And they'll say, well, I'd like to grow 5% or 3%, or all that typical world, what in our world is nonsense. And so I have to adjust and get with them and let them know, we have to look over what they have. But generally, and you've heard some stories, if you heard the last episode where people talked about some success stories of people doubling, tripling, quadrupling their businesses in a year. And yet who's going to sit there and go, oh, it's realistic that I have a 300% increase in my business this year? So what's realistic is relative, but I say most people are going to err on the side of way too small. And in down economies, people say things like, I just want to survive. I just want to stay in business. So they want 0% growth or a little bit of a loss. They'd be happy. So I have to have a conversation to adjust them to think bigger than they've ever thought before. And then, of course, most importantly, to start acting bigger than they've ever thought before. So I'm a big fan of the saying, you etch your goals in stone, but you write your plans in sand. So I'm never going to change the goal. If I have to get somewhere by a certain day, I'm going to get there. If my car breaks down, I got to change the plans. So I'm always open to changing plans, but I'm rock solid on what goal I want to achieve, and I get that across to my clients.
That's awesome. Ben, tell us your philosophy on goal setting and why it's important to set compelling goals.
Yeah, and that's a great question, Craig, because I try to avoid too much rigidity in what I'm doing. I really like the example, and I think probably all of us have heard it. I'll try to do it justice, where the speaker has the big glass jar, and they put some rocks in there, and they say, all right, we filled up the jar, and the people watching are like, yeah, it looks pretty full. And then they go and get the smaller pebbles and throw it in there. Is it full yet? And people, no, I'm not quite sure. And then they put sand in, finally puts in water, and then actually fills up all of the space in there, with the idea being that if you didn't put the big rocks in there first, then you would have just had, sand and water, and you wouldn't have, the things that you wanted in there. So that's when I look at goals, that's the mindset that I'm using, is what are the main things that I want to make sure are done over this time period, so that I can just focus on a few things. Because if I find personally, if I have too many details and too much going on there, I get in the weeds with all of those things, and I need to be able to go back and take a step back and say, okay, with the weeds I'm in now, how is that related to that big rock that I've set? So that's my sort of overall philosophy on that when I'm setting goals.
Awesome. Dan Cricks, what do you think? What's your philosophy on setting goals, compelling goals?
Well, first of all, I want to disagree with Steve in just a little bit here, and that's the thing about the realistic.
Oh my God,
that's never happened before.
Unbelievable. It's the thing about realistic goals, okay? And here's why. Most people, okay, that aren't in our world, that haven't been exposed to people like us, they think 5-10% because they don't know how to achieve a goal. They don't know how to set down a marketing plan. Most of them just put a goal up, put it up on their refrigerator or on their mirror or on their desk and say, that's what I want to do. Okay. And we take it a step further. And I know you do too, Steve. And so I help them set a marketing plan, and I want to talk to them. I sometimes will have people that want to try to take advantage of me and say, so what would you like to do next year? Well, I'd like to have my business 5 times what it was last year. Whoa, let's slow down. Okay. And then once I get them to identify, then I push them beyond like what Steve was talking about. But that, we got to remember where they come from when we're helping them set their goals, and then gradually take them to where we can. One example, I had a client who wanted to start a new membership program, pushed him to do it way sooner than he thought. I said, how many do you think you can do? He said, 35. I said, how about 50? Oh, I don't know if I can do 50. He did his event. He sold 51. Okay. And don't you know, had I said 70, he probably would have done 75. Okay. But that's the thing. Realistic. I think we got to start with realistic for them because they're not used to our world, and then take it to that next level because we know what we can do and we help them get there with a plan.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Richelle, what do you think? What's a compelling goal and what's your philosophy on it?
So I disagree with both of them.
More drama.
Can't believe it.
No, you know what? For me, how it's always just worked for me is me personally. I set out what I want to do, and then I work like hell to get there. Right. With working with, so even how I rebuild back my $1 million business, right? It's not like I sat there and said, I want to get it back there. It was just that I started working and I started throwing everything I knew at it to make sure it would happen. And it was actually a surprise. It was September, and I clicked on the computer and said, tell me how much I deposited in the bank. Key thing is deposited in the bank, not the cash that I put. The statute of limitations is over. So how much
this podcast will be seen around the world, I want you to know. So
oh yeah, oops. Okay. How much did I deposit? And it was $947,000. And I was like, ooh, oh my gosh. Okay, I know that I can hit it by December, right? So I just kind of set like this big rock, I guess as Ben says, and then I just get after it, right? With clients, I let them pick whatever their goal is, because I know that I'm going to crush it. So I go, what's your goal? Oh, what is it? Oh, 10%. Yeah, you know what? That's industry standard. Let's just go with 10%. And when I hit the 10%, then what happens? Right. So even if there's consultants watching this, so I tell them when I hit the 10%, then I get a piece after that. So how about we do it that way? And they're like, okay, because they're just friggin' happy we hit the 10%. And then now I make a business decision to go and, double it and triple it. And then we have some good time. So, goal setting for me is, yes, I have those big rocks, right? And then after that, I just do everything in my power to get there.
Can't believe you disagreed with us.
Can you believe that shit?
Becky, what's your take on setting compelling goals?
Well, since everybody is disagreeing with everybody, I'm going to disagree with all of you. When I work with people, I start with their why. Why do they want to have those specific goals? Like, is it just a number to them? Because if it's just a number, I can guarantee you they are not going to hit it because life gets in the way, family issues get in the way, that type of thing. But when I sit down with them and say, let's talk about your why before we even get into this, because they have a reason that they want to get to whatever that place is, the next level. Maybe it's to open a new business, whatever it is. And so if you can really dig down into their why, then you can always come back to that. And I have found that to be the absolute, positively most effective way, because because they said it. And when you take 20 minutes and work on that with them, I even created a worksheet for them to work on that themselves with an example. It's the most perfect way to get them back on focus if they're not achieving what they wanted to achieve. And then once they figure out what their why is, then we can set the goals. And I'm kind of like Richelle. I let them set whatever they want to set. And if we reach it, great. Then I'm going to, reward them at that time, because everybody needs to take a moment to celebrate that goal. Most people breeze over that, but I send them a wow package and things like that. But start with the why, let them set their goals, and from there we'll push it to the next limit.
Yeah, I work with a client who's a specialty dentist, and he is always his goals are always so low. He's always setting his break even, and I said, stop that. Stop thinking double that, triple that, quadruple that, because then your break even is like 3 times what it's supposed to be, right? He's thinking too small. And this year alone, he started listening to us after 9 years. He started, but he's actually having very successful months now because he's not thinking about the break even anymore. He's thinking beyond that, because wherever your mind sets itself, it's what you focus on expands, right? So if you focus on break even, you're gonna reach break even. But if you focus on the moon, at least you're shooting for the moon. And if you make it halfway to the moon, that's better than sitting on Earth for the rest of your life, right?
No, it's better than freaking break even. Like, who wants to freaking break even? Like, what is
break even? Break even is I can pay my bills, but I can't pay myself. I can't enjoy life. I can't save for my future goals and the things I want to do for my family. So freaking A, man. So Mark, what's your take on setting compelling goals?
Well, to start with, I'm going to agree with everybody.
How dare you?
Because I believe that there's more than one way to be right.
Yeah.
However, if you want the fastest path, you have to listen to mine. So the way I look at goal setting is I look at it in 2 ways. For one, I believe it's marketing to ourselves. And for 2, it's a lot like fitness. And you heard Dan Cricks talk about, how many did you sell? Oh, I could sell 30. Well, how about 50? And then he sold 51. How many push-ups can you do? 20. Try 50, So to me, it's like you're marketing to yourself, making a goal. So it has to be something that you can see yourself believing. Because at the end of the day, what I found working with my coaching students and is if you give them a bunch of goals and they don't see themselves achieving it, it just gets put in a drawer and never gets looked at again. You got to see something that they can achieve. So what I've really developed in my programs is I find a long-term, a mid-term, and a short-term goal for whatever it is that they're working on. And then I find a way for a quick win, because there's nothing more motivating, just like in fitness, than you get a quick win. That's why they give you the crash, whatever workout program, and you're going to drop 10 pounds or some magic when they're really just taking the water out of you. But when you see that quick result, you're like, oh my gosh, if that did that, I'm going to go on to the next goal. So I think it's selling yourself and meeting people where their head's already at. And the tactical part of that is when I start working with the business, I always look at what's already selling and selling well and what's not selling at all. Because what's counterintuitive is a lot of people think, well, I need to pour gas on the thing that's not working to help boost that up. But the reality is they need to work on the thing that's selling and really get that on fire. So you pour the gas on something that's already aflame. I hope I explained that okay, but it's simple, but I think effective.
Awesome. Chuck, what do you do to set compelling goals? What's your philosophy on that?
Oh, I'm going to go contrarian again. People have been asking me my why for 50 effing years, and I don't give a shit anymore to hear anybody ask me that. So I don't go there. I try to make it fun. America is all hung up on we got to set our goals in December to start the new year's. Well, that's wrong thinking. We should be changing our goals as the year goes on because situations change. So, Kennedy taught us all that we should be looking for other revenue streams within any business. So I will meet with my mastermind groups toward the end of a year, even though I don't like the January 1st thing, and have them talk about opportunities within their business they may be missing. So they come in and say, I want a 10% increase. And we all think that is BS, but we talk about What opportunities might you be missing? Is there an information product? Is there another vertical? I really like what Mark said about focusing on what you do well, not what you do crappy. That's also important to me. Then if they list these different things they could be doing, and we talk about just come up with 5 things you would have to do to make that happen, and then 5 things that you know from knowing yourself why you won't do it. And normally what happens is someone finds a new opportunity within their business they hadn't thought of, and that helps them attain a much larger goal than whatever percentage number they threw out there at the start of the conversation. My take.
Awesome. Thank you. Right now, we're going to take a brief pause because we have a sponsor who's making the show happen. So let's just pause to listen to a message from our sponsor.
This episode of the most incredible marketing show ever is sponsored by Richelle Shaw and her new book, $1 Million Partnerships. You can grab the $1 Million Partnerships Accelerator Kit at www.milliondollarpartnerships.com. That's www.milliondollarpartnerships.com. Now, back to the show.
Joe, what's your take on setting compelling goals?
Setting compelling goals, everybody talks about it. Everybody wants to do it. And like we've all said, 10% do this, sell more of that widget versus this widget because we make more money on it and so forth. But what I do take one angle to it a little bit different, especially if it's a business owner, like a chiropractor or somebody like that. I say, what would you like to do this year? Where would you like to go? Where do you want to take your family? I had one who said, I'd like to take one of those European biking tours. Well, they're not cheap. So basically I said, okay, that's going to be part of the goals that we're going to be going for. So that you're going to be able to afford to do that. And when I work with business to business and sales teams, I'm sitting there with the owner. I had one owner and he wanted a CRM system in there so he could tell where all the salespeople are every day and how many of them are out playing golf and not working. I said, no. We want to take this a little bit different. And basically, we sat down with them, got some goals, got personal goals. What did they want to do when they go on vacation this year? And that's how I get them encouraged to go with the goals. And then it starts them off in, say, January with the, I've got to do this because I want to go on that biking tour. It's part of that, and they know that they have limits, what they're going to accomplish to get there. So whether it's they only get paid partly with a salary and get commission, or it's the business owner himself, he wants to be able to take a nice vacation for a change. He hasn't done it in years. That's kind of how I set the goals. So we have this other piece, which is the personal side. It motivates them, the owners, it motivates the team. So they all have something they want to do. And now they've got a vision of where they want to go this year or what they're going to do because they've been able to do this. And then, of course, the other thing is once we set the goals at the beginning of the year, we want to turn around and review them. Some cases I would do it every couple of months or at least once a quarter and make sure we're on the right track and make adjustments as needed. And that's what I would do. That's what I do with working with them with goals.
Awesome. Thank you. So,
Greg, I got to break in. I got to go back to Richelle here. Richelle, explain this to me. First, you said, "Hey, whatever goal they set, I accept that because I know I'm going to crush it." And then you said, "Break even. Who the hell wants to break even? What kind of crap is that? I mean, which is it?"
Well, I accept
Some people are going out of business. They would love to just survive and break even. They would love that.
I get it. And I get that they just want to just get above water, right? However, why are you in business? Really? To break even? Then you might as well go get a gig. Go get a job.
All right. So I just wanted to make sure that instead of disagreeing with me, you're actually agreeing that you don't just accept whatever ridiculous goal they say.
No, I accept whatever. Look, as long as their check clears, I accept whatever they say.
Oh, okay.
Dan,
you want to break even, you go, that's fantastic. Let's do that.
Dan Kennedy says the purpose of a business is to produce maximum profit for its shareholders. And if they're the primary shareholders, then it's to make a profit. Breaking even is not making a profit. So,
But it's so often, and here's the thing, Steve. So often, it's hard to change ourselves. As Chuck was saying, the 5 reasons why you won't. I wrote that down, by the way. I love that. I'm stealing it. With that, I can't change your brain. I can't change you because you don't want to change. So I'm going to accept what you say, and then I'm going to crush your goal. Right. But so many times, if we are truly being honest, right, that person that just wants to break even is not investing in anybody to help them.
Right.
They've already really given up. They've given up on themselves. They've given up on the business. And now they're just treading water until the next thing. Like that mentality is already a losing one. They're already lost. So it's like, that's why if you've got the loot, and if you want to break bread with me, I'm going to take it, but then I'm going to crush your goal. And then now, maybe then, just maybe then, they may want to change. Who knows, though?
We don't
know. We got that saying.
Hold on.
I had a struggling business because I was taking on those wrong clients that were struggling and doing crappy and going out of business. And, of course, I could help them, but they couldn't pay me. And they wouldn't do anything. Why do you think they got in trouble in the first place? So they wouldn't listen to what I said. They wouldn't implement. They wouldn't get to work. And it was a mess. And thankfully, I found it.
Cricks, follow up.
Yeah, to both of their points, I like to go in the direction of sell them what they want, but then give them what they need.
Yep.
Okay? And so that's kind of what Richelle's saying. Okay, this is what they want. Okay, I'll hear that. I'll listen to that. Because if you try to sell them what you think they need, generally they're not going to buy it. So you got to kind of get your foot in the door, but then you got to give them what they want. And that's you, Steve. That's you saying, okay, you want a 10% increase. I think we could do 50% or whatever that number is, but you got to start with giving them what, or I like to say, selling them what they want. And then once we get them and that check clears, as Richelle likes to say, then we give them what they need.
Well, don't you think goals are just dreams with deadlines? I mean, that's how I look at it. They're just dreams with deadlines. So whether their goal is in their personal growth space, most of the people I work with, it's financial freedom. They want to be able to do what they want, when they want to do it, and, have everything done for them. So I work with clients a lot, as I'm sure you guys do, that, they're profit generating activities. That's what we track. I'm not about the woo, right? So we just get right to it. So are you going to spend your day scrolling through feeds, or are you going to do profit generating activities to get you to where you want to be? And I think when you focus on that specific thing, show me your activities and I'll show you how successful you're going to be. And if they have a week where nothing happens, then they know nothing's going to happen.
Ideally, the person listening to this show is not on a race to be average. They think success. They think, how do I get better at what I'm doing? How do I be more successful than I ever thought I could be? And so, when someone says, I just want to break even, you got to, our job at least as the independent business advisors we are, some are still consulting, some are coaching and stuff like that. The point is to expand that and get them to think big, to think to them like, hey, you got into business. Otherwise, go get a job, because, there's more stress in trying to break even. Because then you're stressing, will I lose money this month, or will I just make enough to pay my bills? Yep. We want them to think over the hill, over the mountain, and think beyond what you ever thought you could.
Well,
if
yeah,
you don't get there, that's okay. But at least you're not breaking even. At least you're doing
far better. Something like that to me, I just ask them. I go, let's think back to when you first started the company. And you were all excited about what you wanted to. Did you say, I want to grow by 10% this year? Did you say, I just want to break even? Did you say, I just want to survive? And that helps bring them back to that excitement where they had the whole world, all of us, lots of us have started multiple businesses. We're thinking really big and we're all excited when we started. So I like to get them back there so that they're
but if they're just thinking about it, I think you have to get them to take action. What are 3 action steps that are going to take you towards achieving whatever that goal is? So that's why, when they write it down and they see that they're falling short, and then they come to me with their tail between their legs, I'm like, well, let's take a look at that worksheet of profit, generating activities. How does that look for this time? If they don't take any action steps, they're not going to get there.
Exactly, Becky. I had a big sign like that said that in the front of the room at all my meetings. I've run over 700 events for business owners and entrepreneurs, and it says, ideas make you feel good, but only actions make you money.
Yeah.
So
Amen.
But we do come across. I don't know about you, but I accessed my inner Chuck one time with a client. It was a coaching client. I was holding him accountable for some things I gave him to do, and he did zero. And I said, "Well, what's going on?" He goes, "Oh, when I'm done, I'm done, and I'm not doing this and I'm not doing that." And so, like I said, I drew off a Chuck and I said, "Look, you shouldn't be in business. You really are not the kind of person that should be in business. You should go get a job, because a business person can't just shut it off at 4 o'clock every day, okay? Especially when they're struggling like you are." And he goes, "Wow, you're telling me that?" He goes, if I listen to you, you're going to lose a client." I said, "That's okay. I'm not here to pussyfoot around with you. I'm here to tell you how it is." Well, don't you know, he closed his business. Okay, and I lost the client. That's okay. But about 2 months later, he reached out to me and said, "Thank you so much. I got a job, and I'm the happiest I've been in years." Okay, and there are those people out there. And unfortunately, and we have that job sometimes, we have to tell people what it really is. Okay, what no one else will tell them.
Yep.
All right, and when I take on a client, they're the ones that I'm focused on, not on what everything else is going. And if they need to hear you shouldn't be doing this, I've had a lot of people. I tell them you need to change businesses of what you're doing, and some of them gave up a business reluctantly and now are highly successful in a whole new business.
Awesome. Look, I got to tell you that. So whoever's listening to this, I'm paying attention like this. I'm at a seminar because I'm paying attention to everything everybody's saying here. I hope everybody else is doing the same thing. This is awesome. I think this is for our benefit more than it is for anybody listening to this. And our monthly masterminds were great, but this is even better. So, this is awesome.
And that's another episode of the Dream Crusher Show.
Yeah,
But you know what? I think we all learned this though from Dan, right? So like my favorite story of Dan, he's talking about like running your business and the things that you need to do, right? And he goes, just like, when I need to lose weight, he's like, I don't need to run around the block 15 times. I don't need to learn keto better. I don't need to learn all this. All I need to do is push my fat ass back from the table and put the goddamn fork down. And it's like, yeah, it's straight no chaser. So all the time, I call those like wannapreneurs, right? Like they get a new planner and they get a whiteboard and they get all these things that are fixing to, instead of just doing the freaking work. Just do the work. Just do the work and you'll get there. But it's all these things that go up in them. That's why it's like goal setting and trying to get them to set a freaking goal is they're not used to winning. So I'm a winner. I only hang out with winners. I only date winners. So it's like from athletes, right? That's where I got this from. It's from being around athletes and like, a winner, and a winner takes action no matter what and doesn't care about what anybody else thinks. They don't care. They just freaking do it. And so if you're not an implementer, what Steve said, ideas make you feel good, but implementation makes you money. And if you want to just come with an idea, Gal yesterday told me, which is Dan said, ideas are agnostic. Like they're not good or bad. They don't become a good idea until they're implemented and we can see the results. Yeah.
Thank you. We're going to stop on that great conversation about that, but I want to wrap up with one tip, one resource, or one final word you have to say about setting compelling goals. We're going to start with you, Ben. What do you have to say to anybody watching?
I think when we've touched on this, but imagine yourself in the future having achieved that goal, because that can be your motivation for all of the things that have to happen between now and then, because that is where you want to be. So whether that's, how you're feeling about your body, or where you are in your business or your relationships, like have that picture in mind so that along the way you can take that extra step, you can put in that extra time, and have that motivation.
Awesome. Thank you. Steve, final words.
I will just say that I had a wise mentor told me long ago that no matter what goal you set, winners focus on the process. But like Richelle just said, you got to work, but you got to work the right plan. And that's why people come to us, to get the right plan, the right actions to take, but then focus on taking the actions, the results will come. But winners focus on the process. Every single day, I'm doing the right things that my coach, my mentor is telling me to do. I trust it. I'm going to get there. Focus on the process.
Great advice. Mark, final words.
Some of the words that I heard early on at a super conference from Jim McCann that really still affect me to this day, and I think about all the time, is he says, throw grenades. So you take those, your ideas and your thoughts, and as long as you feel they're reasonable, just throw the grenade and see what happens. So I, as a recovering perfectionist myself, I throw a lot of grenades, and fortunately I've honed my brain enough so they're pretty reasonable grenades. So throw grenades.
Awesome. Chuck, final words.
If you are not excited about your goals, change your goals, because if you have no excitement in your goals, you won't get off your ass and take the action you need to succeed.
Awesome. Dan Cricks, final words.
For me, a lot of clients that I've come across, and maybe it's just me, have no idea about a marketing plan. And a lot of times I'll tell you, I've never done a marketing plan. I've never been able to set goals and keep them. For me, I always tell them it has to include an action plan. Let's set the goals, but then how are we going to get there? And so for me, if you're setting a goal, it's got to be accompanied by an action plan.
Awesome. Joe, final words.
I've got to agree with Dan here. It's an action plan. If it's lined up for them and they know where they're going to go, then they can go to the other piece, which is their personal goal of going on that trip, getting the boat, whatever it is. But they know that in the end of the day, besides making making more money, is that they're going to be able to do it for something for themselves personally. That's, to me, what is going to drive them to get those goals and going to make them do it. So
Awesome. Becky, final words.
Yep, it is in my opinion, it is your why plus your profit generating activities, being consistent and implementing. You have to do all four of those things to achieve whatever goal that is. And so if you're missing one of them, it won't work.
Awesome. Richelle, final words.
I do one thing at the beginning of every year, and I write, it's December 31st and the end of the next year. This was the best year yet. And I list all of the things that happened during the year. And I read that every single month to make sure that I'm on target to hit that every single year. So
Awesome.
Try it. Let's see if it works.
Awesome. A friend of mine said the purpose of a race is to win. Otherwise it's just a jog, just running. And I think the purpose of a business is to produce maximum profit for your business. And so if you're in business and you're not making the money you truly want, for you to set more compelling goals and work with any one of us to help you get there, or any mentor that has shown you that has what you want, right? Someone who lives it and has what you want, ask them for help. So, hey, listen, everybody.
Hey, Craig, could I say one thing real quick?
Sure.
Because of our time constraints, a lot of us gave little tips and tidbits. There's a lot more to all of this than we have time to share with you. So you just mentioned, hey, get together or work with somebody like us, but there's a lot more too behind the scenes. We'd be here for about 2 hours if we went in depth more with what we do and what we can do and how we help people.
Amen.
I ain't got time for that. I got to go take action.
All right. Listen, everybody, I want to thank you for being here. Thank you to our sponsor, Thank you for you who's watching or listening and listening to the most incredible marketing show ever. New episodes are available every week on Thursdays.
Thank you for joining us this week on the most incredible marketing show ever. New episodes are available every week on Thursdays. To receive a free gift pack from our expert panelists and get access to show notes from previous episodes, be sure to visit our website, www.mostincrediblemarketingshowever.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button and click the bell up in the right-hand corner to be notified of future episodes so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate you clicking the like button and leaving a comment on what big aha you got during the show. That's it for today's episode. See you next week.